another episode of She Speaks, a podcast celebrating women who are changing the face of tech, science, and innovation. I'm your host, Dee, and today's guest is someone who brings both deep technical expertise and a strong sense of purpose to everything she does. I'm so excited to be joined by the amazing Magdalene Amegashitsi, a data and AI strategist with over a decade of experience helping organizations shape their digital and AI transformation journeys. But beyond the tech, Magda is also the founder of the Global Queens Community, a platform focused on bridging the gap between the underrepresented and the thriving. In this conversation, we explore her journey from studying econometrics to building a career in AI, what values-led leadership really looks like in today's tech landscape, and why she believes in the power of forever mentors and conscious legacy. We also talk about launching her own business, being a mother in leadership, and how to build with purpose without burning out. Her story is just so thoughtful, grounded, and just full of lessons for anyone navigating leadership, entrepreneurship, or just figuring out what impact they want to leave behind. Magdalene, welcome to She Speaks. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a lovely opportunity.
It's such a nice opportunity to also share your story with everyone listening as well. So thank you so much. And I guess we can kind of start off with your kind of career journey.
All right, so my journey is quite an interesting one because my background, actually, my first degree was in French and Spanish, but then I loved languages and I also loved maths. So I decided I'll just do my first degree would be in languages, and then I decided I'll do econometrics for my master's, and that's the curiosity that's kind of driven my career up to today. When I first started studying econometrics, I really had no idea. I was laying the foundation for what would become my life's work in data and AI. Back then, econometrics felt like, beautiful intersection of math, statistics, real world problem solving. And I was genuinely just passionate by how you can use mathematical models to understand complex economic behaviors and predict outcomes. But what I didn't realize at the time was that econometrics was actually teaching me something fundamental about data storytelling. So when it comes to regression analysis or any statistical model I built, it was essentially asking, what story is that data trying to tell us? And that curiosity about extracting meaningful insights from complex data sets became the thread that kind of, wove me through my entire career. The transition from economics and all, the whole analytics into the broader data and AI space happened organically because as I moved into my early career roles, I found myself gravitating more towards complex projects that involve larger, data sets. I was working with organizations that were beginning to understand the power of data-driven, decision making. So that was during the early 2010s. I'm backdating myself a little, but when big data was becoming a buzzword, and many companies still didn't know how to harness it effectively. I remember one pivotal project where I was tasked with organizing customer behavior patterns for a retail client. And using the econometrics background, it was more about building predictive models that not only identified purchasing trends, but also revealed underlying social and economic factors influencing consumer decisions. And that project opened my eyes to how data science could be applied far beyond traditional economic analysis. Essentially, it changed my mindset because I realized that there was more to it than just, the theoretical. As machine learning and AI technologies evolved, I found myself naturally drawn to these new tools because it made it even easier. You spend less time to do the same thing, but the foundation was the same. And the leadership aspect of my journey emerged as I began to see the broader implications of what we were building. So data and AI aren't just technical tools; they're instruments for, reshaping industries, influencing policies, and impacting people's lives. So I realized that this power comes along with tremendous responsibility. And that's when I started focusing not just on the technical aspect of my work, but also on the whole ethical and social implications as well. Yeah, so today when I look back on that journey from econometrics to AI leadership, I see it as a natural evolution. The core skills remain the same: asking the right questions, understanding data in context, and also understanding the key problems in order to translate these complex insights into those actionable strategies. So what's changed is the scale and the scope of impact we can achieve. Yeah.
I mean, it's you started your journey with this, and you gained a lot of insight into the kind of more socioeconomic aspect of this. You're kind of so passionate about it for so long.
So I think it's always been the curiosity. I found it fascinating when I would, receive data, and once you go take some time, get the right models, the insight you can get out of that data is incredible. So that curiosity kept me going. I remember in my early years, there was one expression I always kind of enjoyed using, and it said, if you torture the data long enough, it's going to tell you the truth. Or if you torture the data hard enough, it will tell you the truth. It's funny, but it was true. Data, if you just know what to do, how to find the information, it would give you information, tremendous information, and insight. So that was what got me excited. It was just that curiosity, and it was just fascinating. And even more exciting was to see how it was impacting businesses when you share that information with them.
I mean, one of the podcast episodes I did, I think my first one actually, was with Dr. Pauline, and she's, working with data sets and data analysis around women's reproductive health, and around kind of to help with personalized drugs, that
Yeah,
especially around like things like contraceptive pills, being able to find the correct dose for women, rather than allowing them to go through this kind of horrible battle of trying to figure out what the correct dose is, which one is the correct medicine. And I think, yeah, it absolutely can be used for things outside of analyzing other things than, what we traditionally would think it would be used for. But kind of in terms of your career and your identity as a leader in tech, and what are some kind of pivotal moments for you that you can share with us?
well, that's actually a good question. So there's been quite a few pivotal moments, I would say, and I'm still in one of them. But I'll share three that fundamentally shaped how I approach leadership, maybe two, how I approach leadership in tech. So the first was early in my career when I was like the only woman on a data science team working on a critical project. And I had developed what I believe was a more accurate model than what the team was planning to implement. But I struggled to get my voice heard in meetings. So I watched as decisions were made that I knew weren't optimal, and I realized that having the right answer isn't enough if you can't effectively communicate and advocate for it. That said, actually, at that point, it's good to have good mentors, because I remember one of the senior people on that team did help me to identify and kind of supported me at that point as well on this very issue. But that experience taught me that technical excellence must be paired with strong communication skills and the confidence to speak up even when you're the only voice in the room raising a particular concern. And more importantly, it showed me how easily valuable perspectives can be overlooked when teams lack diversity. So that moment planted the seed for later work in building more inclusive team environments. The second one, I would say, is also when I was asked to lead my first major AI implementation project many years ago. way before COVID. The technical challenges were significant, but what really tested me was managing a team through the inevitable setbacks and failures that come with pushing the boundaries of what's possible. I remember one particular difficult week when one model was performing poorly, stakeholders were losing confidence, and team morale was at an all-time low. Instead of just focusing on the technical problems, I just realized I needed to help my team to see the bigger picture, why our work mattered, how failures were part of the innovation process, because that's very important as well when it comes to innovation, and how setback was teaching us something valuable. I started holding more regular, team reflections where we celebrated not just our successes, but also what we learned from our failures. And that experience really taught me that leadership in tech isn't just about having the best technical solutions, it's also about inspiring people to persist through the challenges and to maintain their sense of purpose even when things get difficult. I think that's very important. Yeah. And if I'm allowed to share the third point, I think one of the key moments was also when I first spoke at a major tech conference about the ethical implications of AI. I had been invited to present on a technical topic, but I felt compelled to address the broader, societal impact of the work we were doing. And I was nervous about stepping outside my comfort zone and talking about ethics and, social responsibility rather than, algorithms and performing metrics. But the response at the end was amazing because there were so many people who would approach me afterwards to share their own concerns about, the direction of AI development and their desire to be part of building more responsible solutions. So, what did that experience teach me? It did teach me that leadership in tech requires us to think beyond just the technical aspect of our work. And we have a responsibility to consider the broader implications of what we're building and to use our platforms to advocate also for ethical development practices. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you kind of mentioned earlier on about someone supporting you, and I know that we've in our previous conversation together we talked about the whole kind of concept of sponsorship because that's just been a theme now, which was I think introduced by Mary at Pleo, who I did a podcast episode with, and we had a chat about that. And then you mentioned Forever Mentors, which has kind of
Mhm.
stayed with me, and it's such a lovely kind of like way to actually put it across in terms of how important it is to have short-term mentors, but also you need that forever mentor who gives you this kind of holistic support across
Yeah.
kind of the board. Or it could be very specific, but I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on it here as well, so we can share it with our
Yeah.
listeners.
So this is my coined expression, right? Thanks for raising that. And it's really good that you remember what I said before. So the whole concept of forever mentors for me is something that um, kind of embodies what has profoundly shaped my understanding of professional relationships and growth. So I've got two special forever mentors, and it's really special even when I think about them because they didn't realize how much of a key role they played just by being there, supporting me and giving me that guidance, not just for my career, but you just realized that it wasn't just for your career at that particular moment, but they had a role to play over time. And they were very happy to still be there, even if you were, going way faster than them on your career path. And one of them actually was not just a career mentor, but a personal mentor in the end. So kind of cut through both aspects of my life. So to me, a forever mentor isn't just someone who guides you for a specific project or phase of your career. They're individuals who become invested in your long-term success and continue to provide that wisdom, support, and advocacy throughout my journey. And I've been incredibly fortunate to have them in my life. Yeah, the distinction I would say between the mentor and the sponsor is crucial here. I think it's often misunderstood because mentorship is about the guidance, advice, and skills development. It's something helping someone who helps you grow professionally and personally. And on the other hand, a sponsor is about advocacy and access. So I'm sure your audience know that, but yeah.
No, I think that, you know, it seems obvious when you explain it, but even when it was first explained to me, I've never really thought of that. I thought that would have been just under the same, mentorship group. It wouldn't be something separate. But actually thinking about it more, it needs that separation because mentoring has to be you just have to really identify something very specific. It's just guidance, that's more, and people need to know what to expect from that. But then when you talk about sponsorship, it's going to encompass that and also more. So it's going to be access to jobs, it's going to be connections, benefiting from your mentors, network and people that they know. Yeah.
No, it's interesting because saying that my forever mentors still played roles as sponsors in my life, even though I still kind of saw them more as mentors than sponsors. So you could still find one that would play both roles. Um, but yeah, you made a good point around that. The distinction between the two is quite key. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I have a mentor at the moment as well. And she's always there to guide me. Her name's Omi. Shout out Omi.
I love
I know she probably I think she listens to the podcast. Let's see. I'll test her. Um, but she's not only mentored me and given me advice and engaged in conversations and guided me, but she also, using her network, she supported me to find this current role, for example. And it's
it.
just, I didn't ask for it, she's just did it the kindness of her heart, but she kind of embodies that, sponsor, mentor and sponsor, just all in one. So so I do think, yeah, it's really important to um, give a different wording to each of those things to make it very clear what mentees can expect when they're asking for support from leaders, I think.
Yeah, and actually, sometimes you should also be looking out for what else you could get from whoever you come in contact with. So you could see that person today as a mentor, but could still play a role as a coach or a sponsor at some point. And without, to ensure you don't sound like a leech, always think that for each mentor or sponsor that comes into your life, or you have the privilege of having, you should give back that same support to two people or double the double the number of people that supported you. Because you do see the benefits really quickly. You don't advance as quickly if you don't have a good mentors or sponsors. I felt that way. I had wonderful mentors who gave me great advice and helped me develop my skills. And that's when I actually realized I was growing, I was developing. Prior to that, I think it was a lot of my own effort. It was much harder to, have someone speak for you in rooms where you're not in at the time. You need someone who's already there to speak for you.
No, I completely agree. Absolutely. And, you know, in terms of that leadership, I guess, what do you think kind of conscious values-led leadership looks like in that data AI space today?
Conscious led leadership. So that's a very good point. So I would say conscious values led leadership in the data and AI world really means recognizing that every algorithm we build, every model we deploy, and every data driven decision we make has the potential to impact real people's lives in profound ways. And if there's so much happening because there's so much data out there, and more people have access to data they shouldn't even have access to. So this the whole ethics, the whole accountability comes to both the leader and the user of the data. So it's about leading with the understanding that technology is never neutral. It reflects the values, biases, and priorities of the people who create it. So, yeah, at its core, conscious leadership in AI would mean starting every project with fundamental questions like, who will this technology serve, right? Questions like, who might it harm? What are the potential unintended consequences? I don't think sometimes we think about that because we normally think it's all good until it's not all good. And you see the other issues coming up, and the wrong use of that technology becomes a whole issue on its own. The other questions like how can we build safeguards to ensure our solutions create more equity and opportunity rather than perpetuating existing inequalities. I think that's very important for a values-led leadership in this data and AI world we are in.
I think that's so beautiful the way that you put that. I think we underestimate the power that, we know the obvious power from the offset on a job description. You'll be doing this, this, and this, and these are the things you'll be doing. But in terms of being more values led and asking those questions around, how is this product going to benefit someone? What is this going to do? They
Yeah.
lead to incredible innovations. Like, I think I might have mentioned this in a podcast, but here you go. I'll mention it one more time for the people at the back. My one of my close friends has hearing difficulties, and she, up until this year, she was completely unable to be in very busy spaces, even concerts, because she could not hear, even with her hearing aids. And she's got these new hearing aids that are AI powered, and she went to her first concert since her 20s, which was a while ago for her. And she's now able to be in busy environments. When we're walking in we went to a shopping center for the first time, never did that before. And she's able to hear me very clearly without trying to read my lips. And, she's like, oh, it makes it easier for you. And I'm like, forget about me. It's not about, it's just incredible for you. So, but that comes from people asking those questions, leaders actually asking those questions, being mission driven. What is this going to do for people? And sharing that wisdom with their teams and really encouraging their teams and saying, we're making a difference to people's lives. I think it's just so lovely, and it's just, yeah, it makes me emotional. But like for someone like her, gosh, you know.
You made a very good point here. I mean, emotionally like hit as well by what you're saying because we usually forget that, the stakeholder engagement and community involvement is crucial, is a crucial aspect. And too often AI systems are built in isolation by the technical teams and they just make assumptions about the user's needs and preferences without actually engaging with the communities who will be affected. So that's a very good example you've just shown here, right? So conscious leadership means involving stakeholders through the development process, not just at the end when you're ready to deploy. Um, if they got the right team to be involved, the right user group to be involved, that is good leadership here. And it would go a long way to make tools that are more effective and inclusive.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Magdalene, you're currently launching your own business, which congratulations, and it's all very exciting. Can't wait to hear more about it. But what kind of inspired that decision, and what are you hoping to create?
Oh, good. Thank you. So I think you probably know by now I'm a naturally curious person, and I think I'm also very passionate about driving change and social impact. So that's fundamental to my true nature and my core values. So the decision to launch my own business just came from a growing realization that I wanted to have more direct control over the impact I could make in the world. So after years of working within large organizations, I found myself increasingly thinking, how can we maximize this whole AI evolution for a greater social impact and pursuing the more meaningful and ethical approaches to AI development. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that my corporate experiences and work with other incredible, people has not given me that, but this is at a personal level. So it's me taking that mantle with all the experiences and learnings and wanting to shape something where I have that direct impact without needing to, compromise sometimes if, based on financial decisions. Yeah.
And and while you're kind of like launching your business, it's we talked about being ethical, we talked about being values led, and how do you kind of stay aligned with your purpose while kind of managing all the pressures that come with, consulting and building something from the ground up?
Wow. So staying aligned, I think it's always, I mean, again, it's like staying aligned to who your core values are, right? So staying aligned with my purpose whilst managing the practical pressures of building a business is one of the challenging aspects of entrepreneurship. It's an ongoing struggle that requires constant attention and intentionality. One of the most important strategies I've developed is the whole purpose checkpoints. So through my decision making processes, I have purpose checkpoints. Before taking on a new client or project, I will ask, does this work advance my mission of promoting ethical AI? That's one key checkpoint. Will it allow me to have the kind of impact I want to have? That's another checkpoint. Does it align with my values around inclusion and social responsibilities? And then if I if I can't answer yes to these questions, then I've got to kind of, you know, rethink everything, regardless of the financial implications. But I think we're at that point where we need to, take ownership of these ethical decisions. So this approach might mean turning down lucrative opportunities that doesn't align with the purpose. It might be scary, but it's again building a business with values that you want to say you're truly aligned, it truly aligns with you. At this point, it's my values, right? So if it goes south, that goes against my core values. So it kind of gets a bit personal. But I think that's what will also give me the chance to attract and keep the right clients, people who share our values and also the need for ethical AI. Yeah.
And would you extend that to people that in the future you might have to hire, for example, that kind of sharing the
Absolutely.
values?
That's that's very true because it it's not just you, it's the team, right? So making sure you've got the right team who share the same values as you. I'm a mom and I've enjoyed the whole balance of work and family. So time management is also very crucial for maintaining, that alignment. So I would want to see my team and myself having a understanding of what a healthy work-life balance is. It should be easy to get because it can get easy to get caught up in, the day-to-day demands of running a business that you can lose sight of that bigger picture. Like you're not just your business, you're a encompassing your best professional and personal life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish you all the best with your business. It's so exciting. And, I know we'll be keeping in touch after this as well. We're even planning to have a coffee sometime soon. Hopefully, that would be really lovely. But, this isn't the only thing that you founded, Magdalene, right? Could you tell us a bit more about, what is it called? When is it launching?
Right. So it's called Anaiya Group, and fundamentally, it's about providing data and AI strategy, digital transformation, AI solutions, and also supporting businesses with their AI adoption and also leadership growth. Because I understand over the years how important um, getting leadership to understand and adopt AI would go a long way in that AI adoption journey for the business. And it's also about the whole decision making around AI, the ethical decisions. So bringing that whole story together, it's about, the whole consulting, the strategy, the decisions around long-term impact for the business, the value realization at the end of, any AI implementation, and also getting the leadership on board, getting them educated, getting them excited about AI, getting them well equipped so they can make ethical decisions with that AI adoption as well. And when is it
That's
launching? Is launching next week on the 28th, because we had to do a lot of fine tuning. So yeah, it's very exciting that we will be launching in a few days.
Gosh, it's so it's all very exciting, isn't it? And I'm
It is
just so
exciting.
happy for you and wishing you all the best with that. Um, but
Thank you.
Magdalene, that's not the only thing that you founded, right? That's you've also founded the Global Queens community, which you've told me so much about. But could you tell us more about kind of what it is, what your mission is, and what impact you've seen so far?
Thank you. So the Global Queens, I call it my third baby because I've got two kids, and it was founded in 2023. And the core, it was born out of that recognition that whilst there are many programs and initiatives focusing on getting women into tech, there was actually a gap in supporting women as they advance into leadership roles and navigating the unique challenges that come with being underrepresented in senior positions. So I call it bridging the gap between the underrepresented and the thriving. So those who are doing really well can support those who are also on that journey to come and get in, to the top. It's I say industry agnostic, meaning it's not only tech, but because I'm so much into tech all my life, it naturally gets more people into tech into the space, but it's really about bringing that building a whole ecosystem irrespective of that industry. So our mission is to create a supportive ecosystem where women can connect, learn from each other, and collectively advance their careers, whilst also working to create a more inclusive environment in their organizations. We do have five key, I would say, um, pivots or angles that we use to provide the support for our community. We've got our Queen's Couch podcast, which will be launched tomorrow. We've got mentorship, we've got training programs, so we do have workshops as well, and um, and then our award ceremony. We did our first one in March, which was fantastic. So I'm hoping I've mentioned all five of them. If not, you can ask me again.
I think you have. I have not counted, just like yourself. I'm pretty sure you have.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
I've got
thank you so
everything on
much for
our
sharing.
website, but it's all about bringing people together and helping each other to thrive. So I want to add one thing. The Queen in our name, Global's Queen, Global Queens, represents the idea of women who are not just successful themselves, but who actively work to elevate other women and create more inclusive environments wherever they go. So you get support and you should look to support other people. And that's really what makes you a queen.
I couldn't agree more. Whatever
Yeah.
knowledge you have that you gain, it's so important to, share that with the next person because I think when we start gatekeeping what wisdom
Yeah.
we do have, because, sometimes I, in the past, I've reached out to people who are clearly very, very experienced, very, very, further on in their journeys, and they feel like they're not qualified enough to give um advice. And it you have so much to say, you have so much you can teach people, so much value here. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You said earlier as well, didn't you, about, if you learn, if you have one mentor, maybe mentor two other people, that sort of thing. And I think that's all really important. And that's how we become a community, by helping each other out a little
Yeah.
bit.
And I kind of always, when I think about, I talk about allies who are male allies who are part of the Global Queens community. We've got men, they are male allies, but I always kind of pivot quickly to pointing out the need for women to be allies to the women. We sometimes feel so closed off or less willing to support the other person, and it's just a mindset that we really need to switch off. When you find, or when I've had women complain to me about bad experiences at work, most often than not they experienced it from a woman, and you think, why should it be the case? So yeah, I think it's more of educating ourselves that it's okay, there's enough space for all of us to shine and do well. My success does not dim your light.
I mean, if this isn't a very perfect example of that, Magdalene, I don't know what is. Your community is very similar to what I'm doing as well. But we've had this conversation, we've had a conversation before, and we've been just, sharing ideas. We've been just connecting rather than competing. And I think that's the most important thing, right? Because there has to be lots of pockets of communities. We can't have just this one massive thing. Because unfortunately, like recently I had a conversation about this as well. Actually, it was in my networking event that I did recently where it was quite small. It was a small, tight, just about 20 people or so. And they all said that they felt quite intimidated
Oh,
by larger networking events, and that having several of these little communities is so much more helpful. So actually, we all should be working together as opposed to, competing. And I love that. I really love that. That's why I love, you know, um, just speaking to anyone who
wow.
does similar things to what I do, because
Yeah,
it's good. It's very reassuring to know there are more people doing this and actually are mission led.
yeah.
Um,
And just to add to what you've said, the person you would meet in a different community is likely going to give you something else from what you meet in another community. So it's not anything like I need to be here and not there, or there's a conflict of interest. No, not at all. You can't have enough of opportunities to network and meet and build a community. So absolutely. That actually reminds me of when we launched in China. I was like surprised in a good way, how embracing they were as a country and a community to what the Global Queens had to offer. I remember speaking to one of my someone who had who had been referred to me, a very lovely gentleman from a company I used to work for, consulting, and he said, "I'm so glad you're bringing this to our country." And I thought that expression stayed with me. People need us. There's not enough of it. It's not a UK thing or a Europe thing. We all need to connect with each other. So to that end, one of the things the Global Queens does is we're trying to bridge that gap internationally. We're thinking if this year we did our award ceremony here, who knows? Maybe in a year or two we might be doing it in China, and that means opportunity for people to network across nationals. It could be Europe, it could be somewhere else in, Dominican Republic, a lovely place, any place at all. But it's an opportunity to, connect in a different way, in a different environment. It has a you know, immense effect on our well-being and all of that.
yeah, and I think we also kind of talked about it. This kind of refers to that as well in terms of maybe more underrepresented groups and backgrounds. I mean, what advice would you give to women from those underrepresented backgrounds who are maybe trying to break into AI and data related fields?
That's a good one. I think probably to my younger self, I think you need to be very conscious of the obstacles, but don't let it limit you. Rather, recognize that your unique perspectives and background is the asset, is not really an obstacle. So I have a funny memory of my early years working in a space where I was the only person of color and a woman, and my physical appearance doesn't give you an idea of my age. So I could pass for a 21-year-old or something much younger. And the experience I had was not great at the time. And there was point where I had to say, we don't need to like each other. We just need to work with each other. We just need to work together. Whilst I didn't think about it, I felt the power that it carried when that statement landed, and the respect I had from that point onwards. It just transformed my life. I realized the power in speaking with confidence and saying, no, you don't go below the bar. It's not about you've got to respect me for me and let's get on with the work. So I'm just speaking from that experience and to say your unique perspective and background are your assets and you've got to be confident in yourself. So yeah, the AI and data field desperately needs diverse voices and experiences because the systems we're building affect everyone, right? But they're currently being built or developed primarily by a relatively homogeneous group of people. So the the different backgrounds, whether it's cultural, socio-economic, educational, or experiential, gives you insight that can lead to better, more inclusive solutions. And mind you, these solutions are going to have impact long term on us and our generations to come. Or if not, the impact negatively will even take longer to correct, right? So we need to, there's a need to go into this field. There's a need to play a part in making sure we're building the right solutions that is inclusive. I see like women from underrepresented backgrounds trying to minimize or hide aspects of their identity to fit into existing tech cultures. Well, I didn't do that. Well, I understand the impulse. I've been there myself, right? I've given you an example. I've learned that authenticity is actually a competitive advantage. You walk away being more respected than you think if you can speak your truth and be firm. The problems, experience, the communities, and the perspectives we bring are exactly what the field needs to build AI systems that works for everyone. Yeah. And I think another thing is to take those foundational learnings seriously because I did explain to you my econometrics, a master's degree gave me the foundation of understanding data, questioning data. Don't be too quick to learn the sophisticated tools without really understanding the foundation, how you can interpret the data, how you can, get the data into a state that really gives you the right information. So don't wait and don't be too quick to go for the easy solution but then get the foundation right. I think that's very important. The tools they keep evolving the new tools and with the whole chat GPT, everyone is talking about AI, but chat GPT is just it's more like it's just at the surface. The real stuff is what's happening at the back end. If you can make sure you have the statistics, programming, and critical thinking foundation right, then you're well set for however, the AI world is going to advance. You've got that right foundation. I would say also make sure that you are working on, personal projects, contributing to open source initiatives, participating in hackathons. Those are very easy ways of just building your confidence and learning. Seeking internships or entry level positions, if you can get them, all are very important to help you get those, early hands-on experience. Yeah. So that's another advice I would give.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that. I think when you were talking about kind of authenticity and perhaps kind of altering our appearances in terms of how we come across verbally or whatever it is, what I've always thought is you could be one or the other and both are going to be hard, but pick your hard and understand the
Mhm.
outcome of both, because like
Yeah,
you said, I think it's even if you get respect when you're not truly yourself and authentic, which it's more, it's a shame people feel the need to do that. It's never a criticism. I understand why some people feel the need to do that. It's going to be mentally taxing because when you're not
yeah,
your true authentic self, that can only go on for so long. And
yeah,
I think it could cause anything like burnout, whatever it is. But if you stick to your guns and you are yourself, it might be difficult at first, and you might have to move to another company, but you'll eventually find your people. And even if
yeah,
you don't, you'll get the respect. I think it's hard, it's easier said than done, but they're both difficult. And you just have to pick your difficult, you know?
exactly. And you've made that point, and I couldn't agree with you more. You will always encounter bias, microaggressions, systemic obstacles throughout your career. Even as you try to go higher, you will have to face all of these at every stage. So when do you address it? When do you build the right, tools to address it? The earlier, the better. So acknowledging that this isn't meant to discourage you, it's meant to help you prepare and develop strategies for navigating these challenges as soon as you can goes a long way to prepare you. You wouldn't need to change jobs 4 times to learn that one lesson. You'll be able to, be assertive and know when you just don't even need to talk. There are times when it's just as good as not saying anything. I also wanted to mention how important it is to very quickly build a strong support network early in your career. We don't normally think about that. I always say networking was one of the things I learned only when I was already being recognized for my work. And imagine if I'd started networking sooner, that would have gone in my favor. Usually, and I might be wrong, I found that people go into data and AI, it's either they are naturally, introverted or they become introverted because of the nature of the work they're doing. It's more about you focusing and understanding your data rather than you being that person who's at the front end having those conversations with the client and discussing the strategies. So you need to build that network quickly. You need to not lose yourself in the data. You need to remember that it's as much a data role as a people role because it's going to impact the people that will be using it. You need to know how to engage with the stakeholders and through that it actually helps you as well. And we did talk about the whole sponsorship and mentorship thing, right? Don't wait till you think you're ready. Like I said, my first mentor, it was actually like pushed on me. And that's a mistake. I should have gone looking for a mentor quickly. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't do that. Maybe
Yeah.
if I had, yeah, I would have benefited sooner. So definitely don't wait and say, I mean, yeah, go for social events. Try and find out what's really happening and learn and find other people. Find your tribe, like you said before, find
Yeah.
your tribe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think and there's always a fear of, I think, rejection that, people might feel. And I think, if you don't ask, you don't get. It's such a cliche thing to say, but it always is true. The worst thing that's going to happen is, sorry, I can't. And you just have to absolutely ask. Every mentor I've had, I've asked them. So it's always been it worked out really well for me. But I remember, when in a conversation, and the conversation we had, sorry, I'm going to say that again. I remember in a past conversation that we had, you said something beautiful about being conscious of what we're leaving behind, which is just stunning. And what legacy do you hope to leave?
Okay, maybe my kid.
That's fair. No, absolutely. Lots of people say that. That's fair.
But I think our legacy for me is about what people remember you as. Of course, it's subjective, but it's not about the accolades. It's nice to have these awards and stuff, but it's really about the ripple effect of the choices we're making and the people that we're impacting or the people we're influencing along the way, right? So if my legacy is the person that I impacted positively, so they could, take the career in data and AI, or they could make more ethical solutions, or yeah, the legacy I hope to leave is one of that conscious leadership that prioritizes human dignity and a social impact over the short-term gains or personal recognition. I created the Global Queens for one of those reasons. I love that opportunity to give awards to people or create that platform, because I don't give the award, but to create a platform where amazing women are being recognized for the wonderful work they're doing and nobody's talking about. It just makes you so happy, because you're changing something fundamental, not just in these people who are receiving the awards, those who are shortlisted, and also those who are seeing it, those who are seeing women and men who look like them, or because we've got male allies who are awarded, right? They're awarded as male allies. It changes something in another man, because they want to learn what that allyship means. They want to listen. They want to. It just changes our society in a fundamental way. So yeah, at that most fundamental level, I want to be remembered as someone who helped make AI and data science more inclusive, ethical, and beneficial for our society. That means leaving behind AI systems that work for everyone, not just the privileged groups, or having contributed to a culture in tech that values diverse perspectives and ethical considerations as much as the technical innovation itself. So, yeah,
And I
it's not
think it's very
a statement. Yeah.
no, I think it's beautiful. I think you should definitely reiterate that to your excuse me, reiterate that to your children as well. I leave behind an ethical, all of that, just so you are representing me at the end of the day. Make sure you do well. I think that's very important. But I completely agree with, like, even your children. I think that's such a beautiful thing to say as well about with regards to your children, because it is your legacy. It's about what you teach them and how you've raised them, because it's such an important thing as a parent.
Yeah, and don't forget the future. AI is just such a big driver towards that future. So by creating Anaiya Group and our focus being on the whole ethical AI solutions, is going to go a long way. So the trail of impact is not that immediate impact, but also the ripple effect of these impacts that you're going to make. It's key. And then also on the personal level, I always say we are our kids, we are the first role models of our kids, so that leaving behind a model of leadership that shows the right values is important, because you're teaching them to support others, to prioritize family, to prioritize well-being, to prioritize, ethical behaviors. That's important. And yeah, and I don't think it's just my kids, it's anyone you come in touch. And it's not about parenting biologically, because I will say mentorship is like parenting, sponsorship is like parenting. So you're parenting someone who you're giving the opportunity to support one way or the other, whether it's in work or in your home.
Yeah, I have a close friend who's a therapist, and one of the things she said, which it's so obvious when you think about it, but never really thought about in terms of how, as I'm not a parent, but in terms of how, for example, my parents shaped me. Said your parents, everything they teach, everything they show you, they're the template. They
Yeah,
become the template. So actually trying to instill this early on is so important, because trying to unlearn it and rewrite a template is very difficult. As we all know, like we've seen others go through it. Maybe we've gone through it personally, but yes,
yeah.
it's very, very important. And I thought that was a really, really interesting way of putting it. So I know that you mentioned quite a few things around, advice for women, particularly in underrepresented groups. But if there was like just one lesson you wanted every future female leader to know, what would that be?
So I'd say too often women, especially from the underrepresented backgrounds. We spend energy trying to fit into existing leadership roles. I think, or minimizing your unique perspective to be accepted. But the world does not need more leaders who think and act exactly like the leaders we've had before. And it's on us to really change that narrative. It's on us to be our authentic self. The challenges we're facing, from climate change to social inequality to the ethical development of AI, require diverse perspectives and approaches. So your different way of seeing problems, your collaborative leadership lifestyle, your focus on long-term impact over short-term gains, your ability to build inclusive teams. These aren't, weaknesses to overcome. They are strengths that has to be leveraged. You don't need permission to lead, and don't wait until you feel comfortable or completely ready. Just lead. Just be confident in yourself, in your authentic self, and don't minimize yourself to please anyone, because everything that encompasses you is required in that leadership role, plus in this world of in this space of data and AI.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah,
But what an interesting concept it is to, even that creating your own role, creating something new, finding that gap, and doing, I think one of my friends actually did that recently, which is quite interesting. She created a brand new role for herself, which is, incredible what it's
uh,
doing now. Um,
yeah,
but but thank you so much, for all your insight, Magdalene. I think that's pretty much come to the end of our podcast, even though I
oh,
wish it were a lot longer than this. But hopefully maybe when there's a part two, maybe.
absolutely. And I'm looking forward to the coffee and catch up. And it was lovely to have a chat on a calm Thursday afternoon.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too. Thank you for having me, Dee.